All right, a lot has changed with these 2025 rookies, and so we have a mock draft here from Fansided, of all places, with landing spots that are pretty juicy, and I honestly think this is pretty realistic for a lot of these in terms of how they may pan out.
Yes.
This is honestly, the first round here is about how I have it right now. So let's start here. I'm gonna go first because I talked first, and I won the Flock League, whatever. I'm going to take the 101 here. I'm going to take Ashton Jeanty, who goes the 6th overall pick to the Raiders. So obviously he's going to have that backfield pretty much to himself, unless you think that one of the guys who came out last year is going to threaten him, which is a joke because they won't. He's going to go there. He's going to be, honestly, on a team where I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity, plenty of volume. He's getting the elite draft capital. How often do we see a top 6 drafted running back? We really don't that often. And so Ashton Jeanty, we know what the talent level is in the situation. I think there's a good possibility he goes to a team like this where maybe we don't view the situation as super favorable from an offensive standpoint. But Ashton Jeanty is one of those players who changes offenses and who is not needing to go to an offense where it's going to suit him. Ashton Jeanty is that good. If he does get top 6 round draft capital, I still see him going here. And I think it's warranted at this point, so I'll take Jeanty at the 101.
This type of mock draft just gives you a little sneak peek as to where a guy like Tet McMillan would actually end up falling if he doesn't go top 5 to everyone's dream spot to New England. And I'm not going to tell you where Tet McMillan goes yet because I want you to be surprised where we actually see him land in this mock. But Omar Hampton going first round pick 22 overall to the LA Chargers, in my opinion, objectively puts him at the 102. That is a dream. Anyone that goes to the Chargers first or second round in this class is a dream, but I think it locks him in 102 here by getting the first round draft capital investment from the Chargers. He obviously had an amazing combine for his size and his stature, having a great 40 time again for being a 6 foot, 220 pound running back. He looked as good as advertised, if not better. He just solidified his stock, even increased it and solidified it. I think this guy is very realistically going to go first round in the NFL draft.
So I'll take Tet McMillan here. And honestly, I'd be thrilled if Tet McMillan went to the Dallas Cowboys at pick 12. Getting top 12 draft capital, going to the Cowboys, playing alongside another elite wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb on an organization where you have Dak Prescott throwing him the ball. I would feel fantastic about this landing spot. A lot of people would maybe short him because they're going to say, oh, there's got CD, he's the alpha there. Don't care. Those two would fit like it would be amazing. It would be amazing.
Yeah, it would.
So I'm very high on the landing spot. And again, we're looking for the draft capital for Tet. A lot of people have him falling down into the 20s. In this mock draft, you see him at pick 12. I've seen multiple mock drafts with him still in the top 10, and I'm personally not going to just go crap on Tet McMillan because I'm bored and I have Twitter fingers. So I'll take Tet McMillan at the 103, and I'll feel really good about it, actually, if I have the 103.
I would also feel really dang good about Luther Burden going to the Denver Broncos in the first round, pick 20. That would basically be him taking over Courtland Sutton long term. Now taking over like as the top option year one, I don't know. They don't really even play the same role. They could be complementary though. And Courtland Sutton again is like 30 years old, so he's not a spring chicken at all. Luther Burden is a spring chicken. He's very, very young. He's coming out as a true junior. He had a great sophomore season. His junior season obviously disappointing, which is why he isn't being ranked as high as we thought he could have been heading into the 2024 college year, but still is going to be a first-round pick comfortably, and I think Sean Payton and what he'd be able to do with Luther Burden as a slot wide receiver, where Bo Nix can really excel with those short to intermediate targets, that to me is a dream landing spot for Luther Burden.
At the 105, I'll take the first quarterback. He went 101 here. The New York Giants traded up to get Cam Ward. At the point where you have a 101 quarterback going at the 105 in Superflex Dynasty leagues, I'm more than comfortable trading him. I'm happy I'm getting him here. But I do think, again, with the way, with the level of prospect that Cam Ward is and the type of player he is, not a player that's probably going to have a super high upside from a fantasy football perspective, from a scoring perspective. If you pair that with also the rise of some of these skill position players, I think this is about where he's going to go. But if you're playing in the Superflex League, I mean, this is a very safe pick for 105. I mean, drafters. I feel really good about this. In terms of the landing spot, the Giants are obviously the Giants. It's not great, but I do think he's going to have a fair amount of value inflation, plenty of time to hit. And, he goes to a situation with Brian Dable where, like, Brian Dable's not the worst with quarterbacks. There definitely are worse situation for quarterbacks, in my opinion. So I like Cam Ward. I'll take him here. And feel, again, in a Superflex league especially, I'll feel very good about that.
Yeah, can't pass up on Tyler Warren going 9th overall to the Saints any longer. I know so many people are always turned off by the landing spot for the Saints, like for anyone, for a running back, for a wide receiver, for a quarterback, tight end, period. It doesn't matter. We just saw, I don't want to compare every tight end landing spot to like Brock Bowers and the Raiders because Brock Bowers is a unicorn. One of the best tight end prospects we've ever seen. Tyler Warren is very, very good in his own right, and he's a guy that I believe can immediately translate from a fantasy perspective to the NFL because of his play style and how he was utilized at Penn State. He was like a workhorse tight end. He got usage all over the field, in the backfield, out of the slot, out wide. Incredibly versatile, and I think the way that he would be utilized for the Saints would be in a way that's incredibly friendly for their quarterback shortcomings there, whether it's Derek Carr, whether they go out and sign Sam Darnold in free agency. I don't know, but regardless, Tyler Warren would be, in my opinion, the top option in that offense right out the gate. I think that includes Chris Olave.
I think you're right. He's that talented of a tight end, and again, I think you've seen these tight ends get pushed up here recently.
Yeah.
This is where it gets tough because you have either the late first round wide receivers where you don't really feel great about their landing spots. You feel okay about their landing spots, honestly. These are okay landing spots. You got another quarterback here. You've got a couple wide receivers going in the second, which you obviously wouldn't take. Really, it's the first round wide receivers or these third round running backs that got amazing landing spots.
Amazing.
And honestly, I'm going for the running backs. Yes. I'm going to take Caleb Johnson going to the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
I think there's a huge tier here. I think those first round wide receivers, those late first wide receivers, and then like 3 or 4 of these third round running backs are all in the same tier. I'll just pick Caleb Johnson because I think the Chicago Bears would be a fantastic landing spot. Go to play with Caleb Williams, play with Ben Johnson and Ben Johnson's offense. I love Caleb Johnson, the talent. We're very high on him, and I think him going to the 107 and going to a situation where he's going to have that backfield all to himself. He's a do-it-all back. He's a 3-down workhorse back with great size. A lot of people were disappointed about the combine. I am not. He would go to Chicago, and in my opinion, he would be fantasy productive right away in year 1.
Yep. Quinshawn Judkins to the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. I will never be able to say his last name without falling over it and sounding like I'm congested. But Judkins, number one, did amazing at the combine. He was really, really solid across the board and pretty much answered any questions that you might have from an athletic perspective. I think it's just up to the scouts, the NFL teams, the GMs on how they thought his film looked coming out of Ohio State. He obviously had really good film at Ole Miss as a bell cow. He had some really solid film as a committee back in Ohio State with Travion Henderson as well. But going third round to the Dallas Cowboys, I think that would boost his stock significantly. I don't think anyone would give a rip that he goes third round. And I think, by the way, he'll be going much higher than this. But again, this is playing what if. And if Judkins were to fall as far to the third round and go to Dallas, you're still taking them mid-first round here easily.
Interestingly enough, in this mock draft, we didn't have any running backs go in the second round, which I think is a little bit unrealistic. I think you're going to have at least 2 or 3 of those guys there. But we do have our rookie draft guide with our updated draft capital projections that we're putting out and the updated bakery scores, as well as a new comp section, all of our rankings, every single player profile, all of their combine metrics, completely new and updated for you over on the Flock site. Link is going to be in the description. The annual Motherflocker tier with code domain gets you a free team blueprint that turns into an infinite blueprint, which is, again, a full team review and then an update on that every single month, giving you new trade targets, giving you value grades, giving you everything you need to be successful with your Dynasty team, not only now, but through the entire offseason and into next season. That's at flockfantasy.com/domain. Like I said, the annual Motherflocker tier with code domain will unlock that. The link's going to be in the pinned comments in the description. I think now I'll take Matthew Golden at the 109 because I think about this, if the Bengals took Matthew Golden at pick 17, that means that T. Higgins is not there. And so, honestly, now that I think about
it's really good.
I would take him above Johnson and Judkins and probably Warren. He would be my 106 because Golden alongside Chase would be ridiculous.
Be awesome.
It would be ridiculous. He would be insanely productive there. He's a great route runner. You saw the 4.29 speed, which just further solidified, I think, the first round hype for him. He goes at pick 17. Again, he's safely in the first round here. And like I said, I'll be operating under the assumption that T. Higgins is not in that offense. They obviously franchise T. Higgins. Then you might say, well, he's going to be on the team next year for sure. They are probably still going to shop T. Higgins. They were never going to let him go without, at least getting something for him in a trade at the very least. And so it doesn't mean that he's staying for sure. And like I said, if they are selecting a wide receiver in this hypothetical scenario, I would think that T. Higgins is not on the field or not on the team anymore. And so I think Golden's a great pick here.
With a quarterback being drafted second overall to the Cleveland Browns, there's only so long that you can avoid taking him in a Superflex format. You got to go Shedeur Sanders here, replacing Deshaun Watson, right, in theory, going to Cleveland here. You can have your questions about Shedeur. You can have your opinions about him. You can have your opinions about the Sanders family in general, and if you can't stand them in their antics or whatever, I don't have any opinions or anything like that at all. Honestly, like I really don't care. I care about Dynasty Fantasy Football and his value and what he could potentially do given that draft stock and draft investment by the Cleveland Browns with the second overall pick. And yeah, I do, contrary to popular opinion, I do like Shedeur Sanders' film. So I think that he has a lot of really good traits. Is nice and athletic, doesn't have any crazy upside, but he can elude pressure and he can definitely push the ball downfield comfortably. So again, kind of an ugly situation in Cleveland, but gosh, this Deshaun Watson is so bad. It would totally make sense for them to do this.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Again, I'm torn really between some of these third round running backs and the first round wide receivers, but I have to go at the 111 with the safe pick, and that's Emeka Egbuka, who went really at the 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think, look, I don't think we've seen George Pickens as a guy who's going to bring in 140 plus targets a year, right? I mean, not consistently at least, and so I think Egbuka going there would be pretty good. Obviously, you have the quarterback situation is a very big question. They aren't bringing back Russ, right? And so it's like, what are they actually going to do? Who's going to be throwing him the ball? I think that's a big question. But again, when you're getting a first-round wide receiver at his talent level, him being a slot wide receiver, him being as versatile as at the 111, I don't know that you can pass up on that. And so I'll take him here. And when you see this second round and how deep it is, you're going to be, and this is a very real possibility.
This is a really conservative mock draft too, like where they're putting a lot of these
running backs. I'm telling you right now, if this happens, if something like this happens, those second round picks are going to go so far up in value. It will be ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of a crazy scenario to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Like this draft class is not, it doesn't have the star power that last year's did, but in terms of the sheer depth of it, I mean,
I don't know if I've seen depth like this before.
All
pending draft capital, obviously.
But it's insane when
this has the potential to be
I think it's very realistic.
Deep class.
So.
Dylan Sampson is included in that potential depth. I think he's a guy that you kind of left with the same amount of questions that you had heading into the combine because he didn't run the 40 time. Maybe the pro day will help out a little bit more with that, but he was injured, allegedly during the combine, so he couldn't run the 40. He did some other drills, but my opinions on Sampson haven't changed since the combine. So going round 3, pick 66 overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Can you say that again?
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, no, hold on. What we do need to clear up is this. Just because he's going to the Chiefs doesn't mean we're going to up his ADP a crap ton. But
it does mean the dynasty market will, and taking him 202 or 112 here is, I think, a very reasonable price in a situation where you've seen the past couple of years since Bieniemy really left that offense, they've been running the crap out of the ball.
Wow.
And they've utilized guys that are serviceable, but not like a lead or anything like that. Kareem Hunt looked good as an old washed-up running back. Pacheco has looked solid, and he has his shortcomings for sure. They would clearly be moving on from both of those guys if they were to go take a shot on Sampson day 2, even in round 3. He would have the opportunity to take over that job immediately and have a lot of production upside.
And I think the next guy you have to go here is Cam Scatterbo.
Yes, sir.
He goes in the early third, like 302, to the Cleveland Browns. At that point, he would have that backfield to himself as well. Yeah, you'd have Nick Chubb in the twilight of his career, but I think Cam Scatterbo would own the backfield there, or at least get enough of that offense, which would be a revitalized offense with Shedeur Sanders coming in, playing quarterback, and probably starting from day 1 as well. I think Cam Scatterbo, even more so than Dylan Sampson, I think he's built to handle a 3-down workload. And so I would feel a little bit more comfortable about the volume he would be getting. The offense, obviously not as sexy as some of the other ones, but again, keeping the stability of the head coach in Cleveland, I think is a big thing. I think Stefanski's a fine coach, and I think them bringing in Shooter Sanders would maybe get a nice little reset for that organization after the whole Deshaun Watson massage thing. I don't know if you heard about that, but
yeah, Travion Henderson would be a real nice juicy landing spot to the New England Patriots. Obviously, you'd have the concerns of Ramondre being under contract in that offense, but I think at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter that much if this were to be his landing spot, because you've got Vrabel, who's a experienced head coach, a seasoned veteran at head coaching, who's had a lot of success with running the heck out of the ball with subpar quarterback play. Now he has a rushing upside quarterback in Drake May that's going to open up the field. You're not going to be able to stack the box with a guy like Henderson in the backfield with Drake May. Again, like I already said, Ramondre might be a little bit of a concern year one, but I don't really care long term. Henderson's the better back, and he'd have the greater investment there in an offense where I think Vrabel would be able to work wonders with a guy of his caliber and his skill set. Henderson would be great.
I think you could have taken this guy 5 picks ago.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart, it goes the 205 to the Raiders. Jackson Dart would start on day one for the Raiders. Like, I mean, there's nobody that's probably going to challenge him, in my opinion. I don't think any of the guys you bring in Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's going to want a fresh start with the QB. I think like this. I think it's very likely that they draft a quarterback. Not to mention you got Ashton Genty on that team, and so that just even the dynamism that offense I think would have with Genty, bringing in Genty, having Brock Bowers, already having Jacoby Myers. Did they draft a wide receiver in this one as well? Jalen Royals, who they drafted. So, like, I mean, again, that offense would be getting a complete makeover with a head coach that has a proven track record of winning and also putting fantasy offensive productive players on the field. I think Jackson Dart in a Superflex league could go 5 spots higher than this. And if you're getting him at the 203, it's showing the depth of the class now that you're getting an early second-round quarterback in Jackson Dart that's going to start from day one in the second round of your Dynasty rookie drafts.
So this one's tough because obviously the elephant in the room is Travis Hunter, because he's the last first-round guy remaining. He goes pick 4, 4th overall to the New England Patriots as a wide receiver corner hybrid. That's not going to surprise anyone. You just don't know what his snap share is going to look like. I think letting him fall as far to the 204 is a point where you absolutely want to take a shot on a top 5 pick in the NFL with the talent and the caliber that he is. Could he be boom bust? Could he be boom bust? And even if he gets a significant amount of snap share at the offensive side of the ball, will he be anything better than a Jameson Williams? I don't know. I really don't know. But at the 2-4, I'll take my shot. And again, this is a situation where that wide receiver room is wide open for the taking, absolutely wide open for the taking. Drake May is on the rise with a way better head coach and a way better situation than you were seeing even just last year. And I think this is something where, again, depending on what they do in free agency, in this mock at least, they don't have any other shots taken on wide receivers in the first 3 rounds of this draft. So no one really contending for like that alpha wide receiver role outside of Travis Hunter's athletic potential. So maybe they go out there and get someone in free agency like a T. Higgins, but with this mock draft, Hunter going to New England's got to take the shot at the 204.
I didn't even really see this pick until now. I think this is still where I would have taken him, actually. But Jalen Milroe actually goes here.
Yeah, I still would take him here.
And he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the middle of the second round. But again, like Pittsburgh doesn't have anybody. I'm assuming they're either bringing him in to compete with Fields, which actually Milroe versus Fields would be quite the QB competition. That's honestly battle of the mid. But I do think that
battle of
I think that you with his rushing upside, you'd have to take Milroe in the mid second here. So
yeah, I'll cave. I can't stand the Colts right now. I love the Colts, diehard Colts fan, but I'm so mad at the Colts right now. Got to take Colson Loveland here, going round 2, pick 45 overall. To Indy. They've been looking for a tight end for years. They draft a tight end every single year, late day 2, early day 3. I think they've taken shots on tight ends like 3 of the last 5 years.
Well, they just draft bad tight ends.
And they just draft bad tight ends every single time. So at least they would now take a good shot on a good tight end, an actual good prospect like Loveland. And, Warren would be better. But Loveland, I think, would have an avenue to be very productive there. If Anthony Richardson could do anything, which he can't really consistently as a passer, but you would hope and assume that maybe he could get the ball 5 yards down the field to Colson Loveland consistently.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. That might be too much to ask, but again, good enough draft capital, good enough team investment, and a good enough prospect profile that I would totally take the shot here at the 206.
Okay, so now we're to the point I think you start picking off some of these second-round running backs. Again, we're at the 207, and now we can take the second-round running backs.
Wide receivers.
Wide receivers, thank you. Of these guys...
There's a right answer here. There is a right answer.
I know who you want here.
Actually, this one would be really good too.
I think I like all three of these. Like, I think all three of these guys would do very well. I think Jaden Higgins fits very well alongside Ladd McConkey. They all go within 3 picks of each other in the NFL draft, so it really doesn't matter. I'm going to take Alec Iomanor just to piss Nathan off.
Hey, man.
All right.
Dang it. I am sad now.
Yeah. You didn't seem that sad, I'm not going to lie. He goes here to the Texans, and so, the type of player he is, he's going to find himself on the field just because he's one of the toughest dudes in the draft, honestly. I mean, he will absolutely throw you around. He's physical as crap. He's going to be on the field because he can block, but also he's very skilled, and he came out and ran a sub 4.5 at the combine. He ran, a 4.44 or something like that? I mean, he's got plenty of tools. Really, it's been the medicals and the injury that have been the biggest question mark, but I think going here to the Texans in the second round, I think you feel pretty good about taking him here. So
yeah, I think you feel pretty good about Jack Besh going second round to the Green Bay Packers. That's such a classic Green Bay Packers move.
Here, let's bring in another not quite wide receiver one to compete for the wide receiver. Yeah, like here, let's have 5 of those guys.
Let's get a 1A, 1B, 1C, 1Ds. Let's add a 1Es to that group,
is a
actually,
good letter.
if you don't mind. Jack Besh, I think, would have, again, plenty of opportunity there to take over a legitimate, real, top option role because he has the size to do that. He has the yak ability to do that. He's very tough after the catch. He's very physical. Jaden Reed, we had hopes for this past season, and he showed really good flashes to begin the year, and then he just fell off. And he's really an exclusive slot wide receiver, which, go figure, he's smaller, and he does have some nice boom bust games, but not reliable on a weekly basis. Besh is a guy that I think could actually have that potential as a round 2 pick for the Packers, tied to Jordan Love. That would be a pretty nice.
I think the biggest knock there would be, like it has been for all the wide receivers, there's not a true alpha there. Like, they don't solve that problem, and so that would suck.
It's a hybrid pro and con. Like, it's the same.
I'm just gonna say I'm not drafting Xavier Restrepo here. We're not. He's not. I don't know why this guy mocked him to the Bills. He's how much different is he than Shakir? Like, Shakir's a good comp for him, I feel like. So I'll take Jaden Higgins going to the Chargers here. It's second round. He'd play alongside Ladd McConkey. I think this would really set the Chargers up well at wide receiver. Really. This guy is he's a tall wide receiver, but unlike QJ, he's good. And he had a good combine. He's got a lot of good qualities, and I do think that he has some sneaky alpha wide receiver tendencies that I'm going to be interested in seeing how he translates. Right now, he's the wide receiver 6 in the bakery. He's an elite target earner. He's that hybrid wide receiver. He ran a 4.47 at the combine. I do have him projected right now in the second round. He goes here. And again, playing with Justin Herbert, I think they'd get a pretty big upgrade in the second round with this wide receiver here. So
I'll go for the last day 2 running back here. Jaden Blue goes to the Minnesota Vikings. That running back room is wide open. Honestly, it's a gross name for a really nice running back landing spot. Jaden Blue, again, I don't have anything against Jaden Blue. I actually really don't mind his film at all. He's called The Blueprint, which is
I've always liked Jaden Blue.
Fitting.
Yeah.
But I like Jaden Blue coming out of Texas. Just not expecting him to go here to Minnesota, but I would hope Minnesota spends a second round pick on a better running back. But Jaden Blue actually had a really surprisingly nice combine. And his efficiency metrics aren't ever going to be anything like crazy or really anything to write home about coming out of Texas, because he had to compete with Bijan, and then he had to compete with Jonathan Brooks last year, and then this year he was split in the backfield again. But again, he really looked fine in an offense that just isn't very friendly efficiency-wise for anyone in that offense. I mean, you saw that with A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy. You saw it with Matthew Golden this year and Isaiah Bond, and it affects all the running backs too. So Jaden Blue to Minnesota, that's something where he would immediately take over the lead running back role there.
Yeah, I'll go Jalen Royals here with my last pick, going to the Raiders again in the middle of the third round. The Raiders trade up to get him in this mock, and I think Jalen Royals, you're going to, again, an offense where Brock Bowers is effectively the wide receiver 1, and Jalen Royals would be playing alongside really Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, and I think, it's a lot of mouths to feed, especially when you add in that Genty went there as well, but, in terms of the wide receivers left on the board, I think he's my favorite, and so I'll probably take him, and there's a lot of guys I think you could go here at the end. I'm curious.
Yeah, there's a number of guys. I'm gonna go with the wide receiver with a wide receiver room in LA. That's just kind of wide open after Puka Nacua with Cooper Kupp leaving. Trey Harris goes 3rd round, 90th overall out of Ole Miss to the LA Rams. That would be interesting. That would be something that we want to follow and monitor. Again, the hit rates for 3rd round wide receivers, you want to be a little bit cautious there because the landing spot is a lot sexier than the hit rate. Sure, But with Trey Harris, you saw obviously what they've been able to do with a lot of these late day 2, day 3 wide receivers over the past few years, where they've turned into serviceable guys, at least even had some productive weeks, productive stretches with the Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua injuries. So Trey Harris actually has a pretty solid production profile and a prospect profile. He's got good measurables, did well at the combine. This is a landing spot in the 3rd round where I would totally be interested in that.
Yeah. And so again, like I want to mention here some of the guys that we didn't even take in this draft. This was 2 full rounds. You got Restrepo in the 2nd. You got Savion Williams in the 3rd. You got Terrence Ferguson to the Panthers in the 3rd. Elijah Arroyo, who we all like, to the Broncos in the 3rd. Harold Fannin to the Jaguars in the 3rd. Quinn Ewers. I honestly wondered if you were going to go Ewers going to the Jets.
I thought about it, but I can't stomach a 3rd round quarterback.
Yeah, it is kind of disgusting, to be honest with you.
It's disgusting.
Jalen Noel goes to the Eagles, which would be it's honestly a disgusting landing spot for him too. But it just shows you, I mean, I think really what people are underestimating in this class is the exact dilemma that I just fell into with this class. These 3rd round running backs throw a wrench through everything because a 3rd round running back is as valuable from a production standpoint in Dynasty as a late 1st round wide receiver with a bad landing spot where they might not produce right away.
And think about who we didn't mention here either, like DJ Giddens, who will be a riser, Bashal Tutin, who will also be a riser, Dante Thornton potentially going day 2 as well.
There's a ton of guys.
A lot of guys.
It's a good dilemma to have, but I think this should show you the depth of the class. So make sure you drop a like on the video. If you play Dynasty and you joined this video, make sure you're subscribed as well. And make sure you head to flockfantasy.com/domain. Code domain, the annual Motherflocker tier is going to get you that rookie draft guide with the updated bakery scores for every single one of these guys. Going to get you the free team blueprint that is infinite, meaning you get a team review and you get updates on it every single month. It works out pretty well. So Motherflocker March is going on. Goals 250. We hit it. Nathan gets cornrows. Invite your friends to join the Motherflocker tier. Monthly, annual, doesn't matter. We're just trying to get people jump over, see what the community is about, and meet new people, grow the game. So like I said, link is going to be pinned for you, but flockfantasy.com/domain. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you later.